good morning, afternoon, or evening, and welcome to the Hayseed night, where Aina is apparently making potato chips or crisps, whatever you call them. She wasn't wrong. There was just no way she was. She was older and wiser, and Otter was just being an idiot by refusing her help. Of course.
Hiding from the mob, little Tess?
God damn it, giant tree man. Replying to Ilegrab wasn't precisely on Aina's list of priorities for the day. Ilegrab didn't expect otherwise.
Don't worry, I took care of them. No need to thank me, of course. Wouldn't kill you, though. Anyway, all that's left is putting out the fire, so, I was hoping Ada could give me a hand there. Where is the lad?
That was another question that didn't deserve an answer. Aina devoted her whole being to gathering all the extra thin potato slices and then launched them into the air, watching them fly around like some tremendously wasteful confetti.
Did you two get in a fight?
Aina led Ilegrab to the courtyard, there where a peevish adder sat by the fountain. He was rubbing his face as he stared at all the food by his side.
He hasn't come back to his senses yet, huh? Hey, think it's your father's fault? I mean, I could leave him a little longer on the pyre to see if he learns his lesson.
Don't you dare, you son of a wilted fur!
Don't you dare, you son of a wilted fur! Beat face.
I'll make a wardrobe out of you!
Aw, bless your ears, Red.
Aina shook her head, frustrated. The merchant hadn't said anything meaner than usual, and even if he had, Otter and Aina formed an unbreakable team. Nothing could harm them when they were together. They looked in Otter's direction once more.
Was he actually doing cartwheels?
I won't pretend I've ever understood how Otter's mind works.
You two worrywarts were made for each other.
Aina's face turned red immediately. The legendarily morose Smith would rather admit to any criminal charges against her than let on that she was actually concerned about anyone's well-being. Ilegrab smiled and stepped forward before she had a chance to protest, however.
Let me handle this. Ahem. Atacend, son of Garfas of the Upper Field, you're under arrest!
Oh, Three, I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. I knew that it was against the law, but I couldn't just go tell Otter. Please don't kill me.
For worrying a precious little bean, like, Aina, sweetie, give us a minute, will you? Adder, my favorite Chanthurian refugee. Why would the only law-abiding deer in Slander District ever beg for his life? Did Gyoff talk you into conning someone? Someone called Tailid, perhaps?
No, thank you. All the gold in Basaxeron ain't worth a word with that sicko. Don't tell him I said that.
Well, that rules the most serious possibility out, which leaves us with a scared buck and a secret. And you know that I'm only second to Aina when it comes to both. Start talking.
All right. If I'm gonna die, at least let me die an honest buck. I met this girl and she booped me and I got so nervous that I ran away, but then we met again and it turned out we kind of knew each other because I tried to save her once. Things got kind of heated up between us and, what we did that night? Oh, boy, that can't be legal.
Oh, say no more. So, you shed your antlers. That's no big deal. And most certainly not a crime. Though you know, fawns happen. You do know about that, right? Adder, I love you like a son, but please don't make me take on your father's actual educational duties.
I know where fawns come from. That ain't...
Good. Then what could... Oh, of course. I should have known from the very first moment.
Adder's eyes lit up slightly. Ilegrab let a heavy hand fall on the buck's shoulder as he took a deep breath.
Adder, no matter how guilty you feel, cheating is not a crime.
Say what?
I want you to know that I don't approve of what you've done, but I'm sure Aina will understand if you talk to her.
I'd never cheat on Aina. I'd have to be courting her for that anyway.
You're not?
Course not. My boss is the strongest and the coolest and cute as a bug to boot. Ain't nobody good enough in this world to court Aina, much less me. I could never find me a doe like her.
But kid, she's not a...
If a tree falls in a temple and there are 3 people to hear it, including the tree itself, does it make a sound? The answer is yes. He says, doe.
All right, kiddo. That's the end of the talk. Why don't you, go back to sulking in the corner or something?
Ilegrab laughed awkwardly as Aina dragged him away.
You're lucky I can't have you arrested, you unruly little beast. Yeah, of course. Mock your biggest ally. Excuse me. That wasn't on purpose, I swear. Your greatest ally! I was just trying to help you. Forget that stupid argument. I thought I told you to tell him the truth already. Don't play the mute card with me. There's a million ways you could tell him. That boy's blinder than Pertok, but he'll find out sooner or later that you're lying to him. You want to wait till Eka is here? How do you think he'll react then? Aina, we aren't like him. Like them. I know you care a lot about him, and so do I. I love the both of you. But keeping up the charade for so long is only gonna make the truth harder than it should be. Deer, have a life. And we're a part of it, of course, but there are just some things that we can never give them. Things they need in their short time on Dakna. No matter how much we love them. Adder is no exception to that rule. He's beginning to realize that you're not the son of his life, Aina. Take the whole knight business out, and what do you have? He's just a boy with down-to-earth concerns. He wants a farm. He wants a family. He will move on one day and find those things. And we should be happy for him. Do you understand?
There were some concepts that Aina was acutely aware of, even if she herself didn't realize that. How painfully small her influence could be on anyone's life was one of them. A few moments went by in complete silence as she contemplated the faces that had left her behind already. She had always been all too eager to forget how rare company had been throughout her existence. Bearing the weight of such a thought, she finally nodded with her head low. Ilegrab's moustache turned down as his eyebrows rose. A million worried creases formed where his forehead should be.
Great! Then do me a favor and take him somewhere nice tonight.
Huh?
You have to make sure to have fun together while you can. So go make up with him. Take him out tonight. Who knows? Maybe he'll loosen up and tell you what's going on after a few drinks. It's time to let him in or let him go. So you two'd better be smooshing faces together by the end of the night, okay? That's a royal order.
In an incredible display of dexterity, Ilegrab managed to produce a giant reindeer's handful, of Doris from a bag on his belt, which he handed to a very flustered Aina as discreetly as he could. Satisfied with his act of generosity, he took a long glance around the forge, finally stopping to stare at the embers resting on the bottom of the furnace.
And you can think of that as a tip. You know, so you can get to work on my order a bit faster.
Aina looked at Ilegrab straight in the eye, not restless, not calm. Even more silently than usual, she stretched out the hand holding the coins towards him.
Fair enough. I should know better than to try to bribe a Tess. You guys are a prideful bunch. But hey, keep the money. I'm sure Adder could use a little, push in the right.
Are you going to help me down or what?
Red, I swear I'd let the mobs have their way with you if it wouldn't make your daughters sad.
I'd like to see you try!
Oh, I'm sure you would. He's right, though. I shouldn't leave him hanging like that. Good luck, Aina.
Daughters. So Aina isn't his only daughter? Free from the chains of an unwanted social interaction, Aina silently pondered Ilegrab's words as she headed back to Adder's side. The used-to-be sacred flat pools in the public courtyard now served as a magnificent dish and laundry washing station. Others, particularly since he was in charge of these chores. At the end of the day, any of her oh-so-urgent tasks were just another excuse to keep Otter around. He purposefully looked the other way. Of course he didn't want to talk to her. The irony of getting blatantly ignored by the clingiest deer on Dakna wasn't lost on Aina. A painful punishment if there ever was one. An apology was something to be rarely expected from the smith. Not because she failed to see the fault in her actions, but because she didn't know how to apologize. And no, that was just an excuse. Otter always knew when Aina felt guilty about anything. Then again, why did she have to apologize when it was him who failed to appreciate her efforts? She would have continued patting her own back and telling herself how right she was, if she hadn't noticed that the food was nowhere to be seen.
Yeah?
Aina carefully removed from Otter's hands the brass dish that he'd been polishing over and over.
It's not clean yet. There's some red spot that just won't get.
An incredible feat, considering that he'd been washing that same dish since her conversation with Ilegrab started. The dish had been cleaned with such dedication that she could see her reflection in it. Aina stared at the dish, then at Otter, back at the dish, Otter again. Once satisfied with her observations, she whacked Otter's snout with the flat side of the dish in a manner she considered softly.
What is it now?
Smirking in the most annoying fashion possible, she shoved the dish on Adder's face.
Yeah, there it is. Just let me clean that darn dish.
Aina turned the dish around once more just to make sure she was right. There was no spot to be seen. Seeing that her first idea didn't yield any results, Aina decided that some better strategic positioning was in order.
Hey, wait! Don't go walking into the pool. You're gonna make a...
Ignoring the way her boots were getting soaked and how questionable her repositioning was, Aina sat down in the gap between Otter's legs and the pool. She held the dish out as far as she could and then tapped on its surface, attempting to call Otter's attention to it once more. He had to regain a bit of composure first.
Can't you see the spot? It's there, right next to your face.
A brief lapse of clarity came about as Otter's sight traveled towards a red blur on the brass dish, right where his left eye should have been.
And I'm done. Big surprise.
They agreed on that. A tranquil silence followed Otter's epiphany, a moment of reflection. Aina looked up at Otter with her big lilac eyes, hoping to tug at his heartstrings in lieu of an apology.
Some people would call that kind of purposefully cute look manipulative.
Some people would get their asses kicked.
Well, darn, boss. I may not be all that used to the eye thing just yet, but I don't really need two eyes to see when you're trying to play me.
Aina patted Otter's enormous arms as patronizingly as she could, ruffling the fur that covered them. It seemed none of them would exactly apologize for what happened. So, of course, they went back to playing with the dish like the big children they were.
Who the hell's that gnarled leafless palm tree? That ain't me. There just ain't no way that's my face. Where'd my cheeks go? No wonder I don't recognize myself. Hold up. How did she even manage to recognize me then? Was that magic too?
Aina had no idea who she was or what magic he was talking about, but there was only one gigantic one-eyed roe deer with shovels for hands in the whole city. Otter put the dish away, fixing his gaze farther in the fountain, where a statue stood mutilated and bereft of the glory it had ages back.
Curses! Ain't no way I could forget someone like that twice.
Knowing fully well that he wasn't talking to her, Aina continued running her bandaged fingers along his fur absent-mindedly, somewhat concerned about his sudden interest for the son of the sun. She could only guess why he was talking to a statue, but then again, didn't that hold true for everything? Did she actually understand a single thing Otter did or said? Could she even? Otter had told her a million things since they met. She didn't care. They did not affect her in the slightest. And yet, he kept pouring his heart out to her, and she kept ignoring him, like some sort of tug-of-war for lonely idiots. So why did the thought of not understanding him distress her so much now, when she hadn't made a single effort to do so in the time they had known each other? In the time they had known each other, Ilegrab's words resonated within her, making her feel a guilt she usually quieted with violence.
You know, I've been thinking a whole darn lot about the past lately, boss.
Aina's torn-up ears perked up. what were the chances of those two thinking the same thing? Otter smiled ever so slightly, giving her his trademark, "Here's a story you don't want to miss" look.
Do you remember the day we met?
What a question.
Hey, don't you at me, Missy. Imagine you just walked into the city thinking this is finally your day. You make a friend, he's gonna get you a job, and then you turn around a corner and stumble upon a grandpa on fire!
Nothing strange as far as Aina was concerned.
Do me a favor and make like your idea of weird and mine sort of match for a minute, boss. As I was saying, my pa raised a good boy, and a good boy don't let grandpas fry on a pyre. So I rush into the temple, ready to end the one life I got to save his.
What Adder didn't know is that Aina had been looking down on the scene from her window, giving her quite a more accurate retelling of the events.
But no matter how hard I try, the fire's just too strong for me. There's nothing a poor buck like me can do. With his last breath, the old man calls for his daughter, and he hollers until... Whoa! The prettiest girl I'd seen in my life walks right out of the gate!
Aina made a conscious effort to not giggle. To be fair, half the female population that Otter met was the prettiest girl he'd seen in his life.
And as she makes her way through the crowd, she looks at me! At me! Of all the people!
Of course she was looking at him. He was screaming louder than the man on the pyre.
And she gets closer and closer. And then the little thing just signs us to get eaten by a beast and walks away like it's got nothing to do with her. Wonder who that gal was, huh?
He poked Aina's cheek, and she slapped his hand away as solemnly as she could. He was one to talk about first impressions. Shaggy, chubby, badly patched up and wearing a ridiculous vest. That's how she remembered the otter that first appeared in their gate, screaming in fear as usual. Once upon a time there had been muscle and even fat on Otter's arms. All that remained to attest to his gigantism were a pair of oversized hands and clothes that had been mended beyond recognition. Indeed, he was once a boy with a tender scar on his face, yelling from the rooftops that he fully intended to become a knight. But dreams aren't edible, are they?
I gotta say, this year's been kicking my ass real bad. But I'm still alive and in one piece. I guess I got good health at least. No thanks to your horn-shattering, teeth-breaking, nose-bended punches. But you're the one person I can always count on, boss. I trust you with my life.
That was just a very Adderish exaggeration, of course. They had only been friends since the last bleak night, at least the way she saw it. There was no way he trusted her that much already. Then again, Otter would have probably argued that they had been friends since he arrived with the first bloom of flower scents, and that he would have died for her since the moment he saw her.
And it ain't just you. I can't imagine leaving Mr. Bard's home, or not going on walks with Ilegrab, even the patron. Gods, I never thought I'd find something like this when I left the fort. I was just dying to go back.
Otter shut up all of a sudden. Aina was surprised he'd managed to speak half a sentence about his draft. There went another issue he never talked about. Both Otter and Aina turned their eyes to the reflection once more. The image on the dish offered no good answer to the questions either of them had. It just talked about the outcome of their decisions. Aina shifted the dish a little until she was no longer in the picture. That's where she belonged.
Now, you really gotta quit sneaking around, boss.
Putting his hands just above hers, Otter turned the dish so she would be back in the reflection. She turned her face upwards towards his, confused.
Ilegrab's words got to you, right?
Still observing Otter's snout in such a weird angle, she nodded. He had been a lot more vigilant than what she had originally thought, but he had decided to remain silent about it all the same. From such a low angle, his still faunish and round face looked even mature. Now, that was a stretch. She knew that mature was probably one of the last adjectives that would ever be associated with him. But for just a moment, she felt like he wasn't a dumb kid who would get lost if she let go of him anymore.
Please, oh please tell me you didn't believe it, ma'am. He got it all wrong. I ain't no cheater. I never once said I was courting you, I swear.
It was just a moment, as I said. Aina quietly considered the question. But not before headbutting his chest for that tell, of course. What would she do? Comfort him or pry? I mean, she is kind of keeping a secret of her own from him, isn't she? So I don't think she would be prying into... Yeah, she would feel too guilty about keeping her secret from him to try and make him tell her. I think she'd probably comfort him rather than pry. Because, yeah, she is kind of feeling bad about keeping a big secret from him. No matter what was troubling Otter, it obviously wasn't her business. She didn't like it when he pried into her life. It was only fair that she'd return the favor and let him be. Aina took a long glance at the stag's jaw, letting her mind wander. She always kept him at an arm's length, effectively speaking. She feared what Otter would find if he looked closer. But in moments of true hardship, Aina knew just what to do to cheer him up. No money or alcohol required. Effortlessly, she grabbed onto his arms and brought them around her waist, pulling him into what could only count as half a hug. Otter embraced her as strongly as he could, moved by this gesture. Any other person's spine would have probably crumbled under the weight of Otter's chest, but not Aina's, no.
Boss! I can't believe Ilegrab had the nuts to go and say such a thing. What kind of buck does he think I am? He knows how much you mean to me. I'd never ever hurt you like that.
Aina sighed contentedly to herself, laughing about her previous considerations about him looking like an adult. Otter was as caring, vulnerable, and predictable as the day she met him. That hadn't changed at all. She didn't want him to change at all. Change was scary, and Otter an oddity in a world that shunned her. She wanted him safe and sound by her side. How could that ever be a bad thing? she didn't need an answer. It was now time for Aina to go back to sulking and for Otter to feel bad, thinking that it was due to what Ilegrab said.
They got it all wrong. Ilegrab, Mr. Bard, the patron. I know they want to help, but all them city folks think they know better than Shorthorns over yonder. He don't ever get to finish talking because they already know what a dumb fawn's gonna say. You got any idea how gosh darn friggin' annoying that is?
Aina rolled her eyes back as the mute girl if she knows anything about not... Ask the mute girl if she knows anything about not getting to chip in.
I ain't no fawn. I've been a farmer and a water seller and a watchman and a soldier. I had a life before I met him, and I have one now too, but I just don't want to tell them about it. They wouldn't understand.
Oh, but they would.
And what if I just don't want to talk? What if I'm tired of everyone thinking I'm a hick and that's it? It ain't the end of the world, right? Right?
Otter looked at Aina pleadingly with a big glassy eye on the verge of tears. The smith couldn't even bring herself to give him the sarcasm he deserved. Aina nodded patiently, giving him a lazy, derisive pat on his cheek. She found that almost relatable. With a loud sigh full of resignation, frustration, and just a hint of relief, Otter rested his chin on Aina's head, letting his surge of honesty suddenly vanish.
Woo! Feels good to get that off my chest. Once more, does and stags, the only one that gets it is Aina the Smith. I'm sorry for all the grief I've given you, boss. I should have talked to you sooner.
Indeed, he should have, but she was gracious enough not to remark on it. Aina let him know that he still expected... Aina let him know that she still expected an explanation with a single look, and Otter's cheeks jumped a little as he looked away, smiling as coyly as his giant teeth would let him. And here came the part where he poured his heart out to the beautiful maiden by his side, and their relationship was strengthened even further.
Boss, you know that I know there ain't nobody in the whole of Akathor that'll keep a secret safer than you. But that still don't mean you get to hear about it.
Huh?
Time to roll out the barrels.
Well, ma'am, I think I'm all talked out for today. I should get going now. Mr. Bard's playing tonight, and someone's got to make sure he don't drink our money. See you tomorrow.
Otter headed off to the arc that led to Slander District. A set of steps started walking behind him.
Boss? Ha! Gotcha. Did I forget something?
Aina pointed at Otter, then at herself.
You want to come along? I don't know, boss. It's, a stag night. We're gonna drink ourselves silly, and then we're gonna talk about does. Woo, yeah.
Yeah, talking about does? Now there's the biggest piece of fiction ever written.
Needless to say, Aina remained very much unconvinced.
What about your pa? He's gonna be madder than a hornet when he hears you're out drinking with me again.
The merchant was essentially mad every fraction of a second he spent alive. That wasn't a deterrent under any circumstance.
Let me make this a bit easier for you. Do you remember the last time we went to a tavern together, boss? You know, when you threw Mr. Bard out a window, and then you just ran after him and left me alone to... Hold up. Don't tell me that was the day she...
Whatever story Otter was about to tell disappeared completely from his mind. He bit the claw on his thumb, babbling to himself with that strange accent of his. Her boots didn't even make a sound as she shyly walked towards Adder. She grabbed his hand with her comparatively tiny fingers and looked up, awaiting a response.
Darn it, boss, don't cry, please. I'm so sorry. I didn't know you wanted to come along so bad. You could come down with us any day. And if Mr. Bard got anything to say about that, I'll take care of him.
Eina's lip trembled as she struggled to keep a smirk away from her face.
Not so fast, ma'am. You gotta swear over by tie that your butt and the seat are gonna be one and the same. Because if I see you throw a single punch or a kick, or God's forbid a stab, I ain't ever taking you with me again. I don't want another buck slamming a chair against my noggin. Got it?
Suspicious glares and mutters accompanied Eina and Otter all the way through Slander District until they ended up in their usual tavern, or rather, the closest thing to a tavern one could find in there. I think we'll continue from here in the next episode. See how Adder and Eina's night out goes. I don't think we have anything new in the encyclopedia here. For some reason, these are not marked as read, but I remember that we did read all of these in our previous episode, so I'm just going to go through them and hopefully they will be marked as read now. So yeah, I don't think we have anything new here. Haven't we read Oestrus as well? Yeah, we have. This is the sickness thing. So for some reason that hadn't been marked as read either. And Heartache District, we did read that too. And we have read through all of these as well. So I have no idea why these haven't been marked as read, but hopefully they will be now. We'll see. And yeah, in the next episode we'll see how Otter and Eina's night out with Geoff goes. And for now, thank you so much for watching and spending a little of your time with me here today. It was lovely to have you. Please remember to be kind to yourself. Have a lovely rest of your day. And I will see you again next time.